So the key is, if it's close to the exit, go big, go large scale. So if anyone's trying to take it, you're going to notice.
Welcome to the Bulletproof Cashflow podcast. Let's get into the show.
Hey everyone, this is Augustino. By using the power of original art to transform spaces into one-of-a-kind experiences, you can create some appealing environments for your tenants and for your residents to boost revenue. Well, today's guest knows all about this important aspect of interior design. She has used collections that not only present a visual narrative, but connect people to places and client brands. Now, she and her team have purchased and placed more than $30 million of art projects in 35 states. She's the CEO of 9 Dot Arts, where she and her team create a positive spatial experience and properties while supporting the local art community in unique and positive ways. She leads a team of art consultants, art curators, creating art experiences all around the world for the hospitality industry, mixed-use developments, municipalities, and of course, multifamily residential developments. Now, with all that, I'd like to welcome Martha Weidmann to the show. Martha, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Augustino, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. I've been looking forward to this. I think it's going to be awesome. Now, if you like what Martha has to say, you can reach her via her contact page at 9dotarts.com. If you like our content, please don't forget to leave a comment and rate the show. It helps us out tremendously when you do. Finally, if you text the word freedom to 202-410-4202, you'll get our free ebook, The Bulletproof Guide to Finding a Broker. Okay, Martha, go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit more about how you got your start in the whole art world.
Well, Augustino, I started appreciating and understanding art at a young age. My grandmother is an artist and my great auntie was an antiques dealer. So I learned from them to appreciate the finer things. And then on the other side of my family, people were mostly working in blue collar jobs. And in that side of the family, everyone made things with their hands. So I learned craftsmanship from that side and then appreciation of aesthetics from my dad's side. So that combination kind of made me who I am today. I am a formally trained artist myself that learned business through the School of Hard Knocks, and now am running this really fun company and love what we're doing here in the U.S.
Excellent. And, it's funny because art and is really one of those underappreciated things that many developers think about. It's usually the last thing to think about, honestly. I mean, we're doing some development stuff right now. I didn't even consider it personally until we started talking about it earlier in the green room. So how do people engage? How do people even know that this is a necessary thing that really ought to be thought of? I mean, because it sounds to me like it is something that really should be considered somewhat early on, right?
Absolutely right. So one of the reasons I'm on the podcast with you today is to, bring some education to the world of development. It always ends up getting addressed at some point, but sometimes it happens so late in the game that there's only so much you can do with artwork. In fact, when we were in the green room earlier, we were talking about the Rockefeller Plaza in New York. And when that building opened in the early 1960s, and Rockefeller walked through with his architect, one of the first things that he said is, "This place feels so cold and sterile and unwelcoming on the inside." And the architect said, "Well, why don't you just put some art on the walls?" So that encouraged him to hire the curator from the MoMA. They put together a collection that then became a destination for the property and brought life and attention. So, if you step back and look at what's happening in the broader cultural population, in the broader sphere, in a recent study from ULI, members agreed that 91% of them agreed that art and culture adds value to your real estate project. The key is recognizing that in the early stages, because then you can add in the lighting, the niche, the accent paint, and take an artwork, that might have 3 or 4 zeros and make it look like an installation with 5 or 6 zeros. So it's really a matter of impact. And the biggest impact you can make is early integration into the process.
Hey, Augustino here, and I would love to connect directly with you. Text the word books to 202-410-4202 to receive weekly book recommendations from me. Yes, absolutely. I think it starts with the end in mind, and it's funny because I just happen to be looking at like a fancy hotel today. I mean, one day I'd like to get into hotels and casinos and other types of asset classes. And I'm looking at this hotel, this entryway, and they have the artwork hanging up and the colors and everything from the carpet to the ceiling, the lighting, all of it. I mean, all of it is somewhat artwork, I suppose, in terms of interior design. But I have to imagine that, just as you said, though, the placement of, say, certain items, even down to the artwork you hang on the wall, it isn't just like hanging on the wall and that's it, walk away. It's kind of like everything around it also needs to be planned out. The whole environment needs to be planned out. And it sounds to me like it's something you have to do right up front, like you said earlier, right? But then how is that decided? Like, at what point do people really need to start engaging with all this?
Well, I'll give you an example of one of the longer stage projects we're working on right now, and that is a 16 acre, um, or sorry, 60 acre site in downtown Denver. And that is going to be a 30-year development project. So it'll have 14 million square feet built environment when it's all complete, multifamily, hotel, commercial, community space. And so for that location, we put together a 30-year art master plan. So we start out looking at the urban plan, looking at the acreage, figuring out what type of typologies of artwork need to be in each space, whether it be, public art that's large scale landmark to be by the train station. So you can see from a mile away where the train station is located by that beacon iconic landmark art piece, all the way down to, the details in the sidewalk as you walk through the main street, to the experience of seeing that iconic painting at the reception when you walk into a hotel lobby. So, it can start as far back as 30 years ahead, or as close as to about a year from opening. But that's really the time frame. When you're building a building itself, you really want to think about a year out from when you're opening your project.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I better keep that in mind then, because I got some stuff cooking right now. Now, the thing is, though, Martha, is that how about smaller deals? I mean, do you guys do like sort of small projects, or are you pretty much doing fairly large scale development?
So it's a good question. We do everything from, single multi-family buildings. So a building that might say have 200 units, all the way to those, larger scale master plan projects and everything in between. For us, it's really about the scale of the art impact and the art budget in the space. We have a $50,000 budget minimum. We actually have a new project launching in the next year that will allow us to serve a slim service capacity for people that are in that $10,000 to $50,000 budget. But that's coming on the horizon, so we'll talk about that in our next podcast.
All right, all right. But still, this is good information for what's coming up then. So let's touch on the $50,000 budget scenario then. So let's say, for instance, someone has a 200 unit apartment, like maybe a small high rise or something like that. So they would engage you to put up artwork. Now, so it sounds to me like they're actually acquiring this artwork, right? They're not. It isn't really on loan like it would be at a museum or something like that. They're actually buying this stuff, right?
Yes, you're acquiring from the local community. And here's why that's important. The people that you buy from are going to be your first champions for this project. A lot of times developers come in and they struggle to get connected to the neighborhood. They struggle to be a part of the community. We're going to help you match with artists that are part of that existing community. So the first people who come to visit the space, they're going to be the artists that are part of the collection. They say, "Oh, hey, let me show you this new building. I've got my artwork up in there. I'd love for you to come check it out." And they feel proud of it and invested in it because they see the developers are investing in them. So it's this it's community driven, it's philanthropic, it's brand driven, it's ROI, it's all the things that you need to really bring that project to life.
Interesting. Now, What sort of assets then are you guys putting this artwork in? I mean, because I imagine, I mean, there's got to be some assets you just don't want to hang anything on the walls because it'll just get stolen or something, right? I mean, or is that a real thing or what?
So we use security hardware. It's funny you ask about artwork, getting stolen. We use security hardware, a 3-point locking system, and it goes into the drywall and mollies. This stuff is really attached to the wall. In a few points in my 15-year career in this industry, I have seen some things stolen. One was in an apartment complex. There were these really cool 12 by 12 inch graffiti style street art pieces, and they were by the exit door. So the key is, if it's close to the exit, go big, go large scale. So if anyone's trying to take it, you're going to notice. And then the other one was in a corporate office building. And I think it was a disgruntled employee who had just gotten told to take a hike, and they ripped the art off the wall and took down about a 4-inch diameter circle of drywall with them and carried that piece out the door.
So they got the artwork. They did get the artwork though, right?
They carried the artwork out.
All right.
So, of the 10,000 artworks we've placed all over the world, I've seen this happen twice. Luckily, it doesn't happen that often. But if someone wants to take a wall down, it's hard to stop them.
Right. Well, exactly. So, but it sounds to me then that the type of assets that you're placing this artwork in is going to be your A's and maybe some B class asset. Would you recommend anybody doing anything with like a C class asset, like an asset that is a little bit on the older side and maybe it may not be in the best area?
So if you're working on a C-class asset, depends on what your goals are, but if you're trying to get attention to it, one thing that you could do is use the exterior facade like an artwork. So instead of doing, for example, a whole new skin on the building, you could actually do a vinyl wrap or a mural, and that will extend the life of your Class C property without, a massive financial investment. Class B, Class A, that's really where we shine. And, you've got to think about art as more than just something on the wall, but art as an architectural tool and a brand tool to draw attention and attract people to your space. So, think big, think large scale, think a neon installation on the roof so that people see it from the highway. Think, a 7-story vinyl wrap done by an artist that creates these beautiful shots of the project as you're coming down the street. Things that are going to differentiate you from your competition.
Right. Now, Martha, I got to imagine there's people listening to this right now and they're like, that's all fine and dandy. Yeah, great. I'm going to throw all kinds of money at artwork. Okay, super. How does that translate into dollars? I mean, how does having all this beautiful art on the walls translate to actual income? How do those people see it?
Well, measuring ROI in our industry is, I would say, one of the more challenging things to do. But we did put together a survey last year, and we hired a researcher to interview 500 different developers, CEOs, architects, and designers to find out what is the real impact. Now, I can give you a few statistics from that. So 2/3 of the people that we interviewed said they're certain that art adds enough value to pay for itself. And one of the quotes in there that one of the respondents said is that art has this critical role in making a memorable place, so people know where to come back. And half of the respondents said artwork adds ROI beyond its cost. So it's additive to the bottom line. And half of the people also said their projects would be devastated if they could not acquire artwork. And so, it can mean different things to different people, but think about how art and brand can impact faster lease ups, higher retention rates, and lower overall project costs. Think of it like creative placemaking. In the world of development, you've got big decisions to make about land cost, construction, structural, water. In the grand scheme of things, art is one of the best returns that you can make, because it's not a wildly expensive thing to invest in local artists in your community. It might sound like it when you hear that value overall, but if you think about just 1%, right? 1% of your project, and people are going to remember your brand. People are going to come back to that space. They're going to talk about it. They're going to post it on Instagram. I mean, it is hard to buy that kind of impact.
Yeah, but another thing that you've already mentioned this a couple of times on the branding side of things. I think that if the plan, like our plan, for instance, is to continue building out, renovating historical assets. I love doing historical properties, right? Actually, we're looking at 2 properties next week, in a nearby city. So both historical. Both are similar to the Rockefeller that we just acquired recently here in Cleveland. And when it comes to branding, which is important, when you first walk into the Rockefeller, to your point, I'd love to really hit that person with beautiful artwork, great lighting, nice carpet, like beautiful interior to leave an impression. So, and then when they walk into the next building, it's another historical asset. Maybe it's capturing some of those very specific, I guess, touches maybe of lighting, or maybe it's similar art, maybe it's similar colors. But again, it's the branding, right? It's really defining how if you're going to turn this into a big, like a multiple project type scenario, you're defining upfront what the overall look and feel is. Right. I mean, just the way the TGI Fridays does, or Chili's, or one of these restaurants, they do a similar sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and when you think about the brand, you've got to think about the fact that we're behavioral creatures. As humans, we look at data, we look at facts to make our decisions on investing in real estate. But when you walk in for the first time, you get a feeling. So you've got to feel when you walk into that space that you're somewhere special. This isn't like every other building. This building is special. So what are you going to do that gives it that hook? That's where art can make an incredible difference in your real estate, an incredible difference in the experience of walking in the door. And I always advise people, you mentioned the lobby. The first impression is it. If you're looking at your budget, let's say it's a bigger project, right? You're looking at 1%, you've got $1 million, you've got $2 million, whatever, is 1% of your construction budget to make an impact with the art. So 1% is standard in our industry, in the public art space. Look at your overall construction costs, think of 1%, right? So let's say you've got 1%, or let's say things get trimmed and you've got half. Whatever that number is, the first thing you should do is expertly prioritize that dollar to bring the most value to the investment. And you bring value to the investment by making an upfront impact and a first impression statement. If you've got a building with, 7 stories and, 334 apartment units, 400, whatever that is, focus on the public areas, focus on the lobby. Maybe you don't have to do something at the entry to every doorway. Sure, that might be great. And if we're thinking on that level, that's exciting. But to cover your baseline, if there are 2 million artists in America, and if most Americans say that art and culture is important to them, then you got to meet them on their level, right? You got to show that you have a shared value system.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Love it. It was funny is that just today, I sent some interior photos of a hotel that I'm interested in, sent it over to my lender, and I said, I want to buy this. I think this thing's going to be like $30 million. It's a very expensive hotel. I don't know how I'm going to pull it off yet. No idea. I'll do it. I'll figure it out. But it's like, but those interior, when you first walk into that lobby, it's like, it makes that impression. So to make the numbers work is one thing, but as soon as they lay eyes on that interior, when they first walk in the door, that's what leaves that impression. And I think that, getting back to what you said, right? If someone walks in for the very first time, they're like, wow, I want to live in a place like this. Wait till my friends see it. so they'll pay, they might even pay a little extra money. They'll pay a little more to live there. And then when their friends come over, it's like, they'll walk into this beautiful lobby and they're going to be like, damn, look at this. This looks awesome. He must be doing very well, or she must be doing super, whatever the case may be. So a lot of it's to impress their friends too, right?
Yeah, I think you really hit on something that's so important, because let's say you're evaluating which hotel to stay in, or you're evaluating which apartment to lease or which condo to buy. So you're going to have some things you're looking for. You're looking for a location. You're looking for an experience. You're looking for a cost. And you're going to narrow in. But once you get it narrowed, you're probably going to have, in some markets, 3, 6, 7 options, right? So what is going to give you the preference? Of those 6 or 7 options, which one is going to make your property the preferential property above the others? And it's not just a cost decision. If you look at things like, for example, how people live their lives, employee happiness. As a business owner, I'm always looking at what makes our staff happy, right? What are the most important values for our team? And salary is very, very important, but it is not the number one, right? Because dollars are important to us as Americans, but other things are important to us too. And in real estate, you want to be somewhere that is inspiring, that you want to bring your friends to, that you want to bring your family to, that you're proud of.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and there is a, how should I say, when I did the Rockefeller, for instance, that's probably that's the trophy asset, in air quotes, the trophy asset, current one anyway, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, look, hey, I pulled it off, that kind of thing. But that's exactly it. And I guess to your point, then, if you're going to go ahead and make that huge investment of time and effort, make the interior look just as beautiful as what the exterior is going to be, right? I mean, spend the time, spend the effort. Don't just hang 2 pictures on the wall and say, there you go. Don't do that.
Yep. Hey, leave it blank. I'd rather wait until you have the capital that you can invest in doing it right. Doing it 30%, 40% halfway. Just wait till you can do it all in, right? And make that statement knockout.
Yeah. 100%. Awesome. Now, Martha, if you have some bulletproof advice that you can offer to our audience that might be listening right now.
I feel like the thing that has been helping me lately, and in many cases in bulletproof advice, even when it feels like things are rushed and hurried and frantic in the age of COVID, follow your process, be deliberate, and don't do anything that compromises the integrity of the process that works. Because a lot of us in the business world right now, this might be our first, second, third, fourth recession that we're going through. And recessions are, this pandemic experience, our social justice crisis, our economic crisis, it can throw your thinking for a loop and it can cause chaos. But we know what to do, right? So follow the methodical process that works. Don't compromise your integrity and stick to your plan.
Awesome. Love it. All right, guys. Well, if you want to reach out to Martha, you can reach her via her website at 9.arts.com. Hope you got some insight on how you can use artwork to improve your spaces and boost your revenue. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.